What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to take a little bit of a look at a winning Rookie Rush day. We don't look at Rookie Rush very often, but the lovely Banana Man has gone and, well, won a tournament at JT Game Store with a pretty awesome Rookie Rush deck, which it's the first time I've looked at one in a rather long time and gone, hey, hang on a second, that's an interesting little list. We need to have a little bit of a chat about this. And maybe it's because it's a yellow and green deck, and I'm a green player that's looking jealously over the yellow. Or maybe it's because this is a particularly good Rookie Rush deck, and one about which we should be getting rather excited indeed. So if we start off having a little bit of a look at the Digitama, rather than the 4-1 split we usually see, we have exactly 4 Digitama, no more. And all of them are the yellow Puppetmon. When you're attacking once per turn, if you have 3 or fewer security cards, you draw 1. It's not amazing, but it's the best we've got. I know a lot of Rookie Rush decks like to use the blue Puppetmon that draws if your opponent has a Digimon with no Digivolution sources, but the fact of the matter is we're not playing blue here, we're playing yellow and green. And one of the big downsides of Rookie Rush is that you're not evolving very much, and that is the main way to draw cards in Digimon. So you've got to find some kind of replacement here. Puppetmon isn't a perfect replacement, let's be clear. However, Puppetmon is the best we've got, so that ends up being our Digitama of choice, and it's going to draw us a few cards throughout the game, and that'll have to do, quite frankly. That'll have to do. Moving over into our level 3s then, and obviously this is going to form the majority of our deck, we've got the cheap yellow Digimon. We've got a playset of Tsukaimon, because Tsukaimon is a 2-cost to play normally. And with Rookie Rush, the whole point is we are trying to get as many little Digimon out onto the field as fast as we possibly can. So having a 2-cost Digimon that you can play faster and swarm more easily, that's kind of the point of the deck. We also then, for that exact same reason, play a full 4 copies of the Salamon that came around in the starter deck. Because it's a 2-cost to play normally, why would you not? What we're aiming to do here is get a lot of Digimon out, and they're going to be kind of weak, but that doesn't matter. They're going to be deleted every time they attack the security, and that doesn't matter. Because the point is we're going to have so many Digimon out so quickly that we are going to rush with our rookies, so that we're attacking 6 times and winning the game before our opponents really got going. I know a lot of you already know that, but for newer players, that's the whole point of Rookie Rush. You get so many Digimon out that even though they're all being deleted left, right, and center, you still end up winning the game because your opponent just can't slow you down fast enough. Now, we do have a full playset of Puppetmon here, and Puppetmon was identified by a lot of players very quickly as a great idea if you're playing Yellow Rookie Rush. You see, when you play Puppetmon, most of the time, one of 2 things happens. If you have 3 or more security cards, you draw a card. If you've got 3 or fewer, you gain a memory, which is to say it's essentially a 2-cost. Remember though, if you've got exactly 3 security cards remaining, you don't have to choose, and you play it as a 2-cost that also draws you a card, and we've talked about the lack of draw here. Clearly this is a wonderful, wonderful thing. The other 4 of we see in terms of yellow level 3s, or one of them, is one that really shouldn't be surprising many people. It's Starmons. And Starmons is a little bit not so good. When you play it, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 1000 power for the turn for each Digimon that you have in play. Shout out to digimoncard.dev for the translated proxies. And essentially, if you can get 4 Digimon out, you play Starmons and one of your opponent's Digimon loses 4000 power. And you can legitimately use this to start taking out your opponent's Digimon without even having to bother with that whole attacking malarkey. This is one of those things that gets really very cool really very quickly. Another playset here is one that we probably should have been expecting, if I'm honest with you. It's the Lotmon from BT3. Because when you play it, you may look at the top card of your security stack, and you may add it to your hand to trigger draw 1. Now, this is again more draw power, which is good, but it's very awkward, nervous draw power, because you essentially end up drawing 2 cards, which is cool, but if you do that, you end up giving up one of your security, and of course, when you run out of security, your opponent attacks and they win the game. So it's a cool skill and one that is absolutely going to give you a huge advantage, but it's one that you've got to be really careful about. This one can backfire. You have been warned. And then we've got a playset of Falcomon here. Now, Falcomon's a weird one because it's a level 3 that is a 2 cost to Digivolve, which is clearly horrendous. But honestly, don't worry about it. It's a 2 cost to play normally. And you are playing a ridiculous amount of rookies. The chances that the only rookie you can Digivolve into is this is honestly extremely low. So what that means is you can just play this as a 2 cost to play normally, and you've got Tsukaimon, and you've got Salamon, and sometimes you've got Pulsemon. You've got a lot of 2 cost to play normally Digimon, which means if you ever end up with a whole bunch of memory, you can really punish your opponent and play a bunch of Digimon. Or you can do that thing where, because you're constantly playing 2 cost Digimon, your opponent is always left with 1 memory to start their turn, and they are just not going to have many options while you're playing at least 1 new Digimon every turn. I cannot be the only one that thinks this sounds like an awful lot of fun. Now, we did talk about Salamon a moment ago, but we do have another Salamon here. We've got 3 copies of the one from BT2. When it's deleted, if your security is 3 or less, you recover 1. And it's these kind of skills that are going to make people lean towards Yellow Rookie Rush. Because sure, you're going to be giving up some security through the game, and we've seen we got some skills that might give up security, but then Salamon will get that security back. It literally just gives you an extra security card, and bearing in mind the whole point of the deck is you're kind of playing differently to other decks. You are rushing to try and take out your opponent's security by playing lots of kamikaze little yellow Digimon. Wouldn't it, on green as well, wouldn't it be great if some of those just gave you extra security cards? And the answer is yes, of course it would. There is one other level 3 yellow Digimon we see here. We play it as a 2 of. It is the Kudamon from BT1. When you're attacking, if you have 4 or fewer cards in your hand, you draw a card. It's not particularly cheap, which is a little bit of a pain, although it is a great candidate to Digivolve from your Digitarma. But it can draw you a card, and it really is as simple as that. It's not always going to work, and it'll generally draw you a card while it attacks and then get deleted immediately. But we've seen this is not a deck where you're going to be Digivolving a bunch. You've got to have some options for draw, and you'll notice that just looking at yellow cards here, we found a few options to draw. Now, there is actually a level 4 in the deck as well. Shock horror, I know, an actual level 4. What we've got here is the Turiamon that I just always pronounce absolutely terribly. It's a 1 cost to Digivolve, and it's got 6,000 power. And it really is as simple as that. There's nothing more exciting or amazing about it. It is cheap to Digivolve, and it's moderately powerful. I mean, it's very powerful compared to the rest of your deck, and that's literally the point here. That's why it sees play. You will see some players, a lot of players, playing a bunch of anti-Rookie Rush cards. You'll see things like Volcanic Dramon, which comes along and deletes everything with 4,000 power or less. So having something like this that can survive that is a bonus. It's not amazing, but it's all right, ladies and gentlemen. It's all right. Now, I did tell you that this was a hybrid yellow-green deck, and it absolutely is. So we need to have a look at some green level 3s as well. There's only 2 different green level 3s here, but they're pretty gosh darn good for what they do. Now, first of all, we got a playset of the Aruramon, and this is Falcomon. It is green Falcomon. I mean, different name, different color, different artwork, but in terms of stats and all of that, it's exactly the same. It's a 2-cost to Digivolve, but it's a level 3 and you're not playing any green Digitarmor. You couldn't evolve it if you wanted to. And then it's a 2-cost to play normally. And I just showed you Volcanic Dramon a moment ago. This has 5,000 power. And again, we look back to Falcomon and we go, oh, that's got 5,000 power. And this is one of the main reasons you'll want to play these cards. They're 2 costs to play normally, we got a bunch of those, but you are over the threshold for Volcanic Dramon, which is a very common counter. Not to mention, if we look at something like Shine Greymon, for instance, for every Tamer you've got in play, you lower one of your opponent's Digimon by 4,000 when you Digivolve. Well, that will delete any of your other Digimon, but you will survive if you've got 5,000. Your opponent can delete you, but they've got to use double skill from Shine Greymon, which is clearly not what they're particularly wanting to do. And that's kind of the point here. That's why these 5,000 power Digimon are so crucial, and I didn't make a huge deal of it with Falcomon, so let me make a huge deal of it now. Having 8 5,000 power level 3s is huge, because I've just shown you a couple of very popular counters, and these will essentially duck out of the way. That's a good thing. Hey, while we're here, Lylemon. It's exactly the same again. 2 costs to play normally, 2 costs to Digivolve, 5,000 power level 3. And I have very little to say about it, because it is exactly the same as we just saw from Arurumon. It's even the same colour in terms of green. So now we've got 12 level 3s with 5,000 power that will avoid those pretty popular counters. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we are really starting to roll. And that's it in terms of green level 3s. There is, however, another green Digimon we see here. There are 2 copies of Puppetmon, and I am delighted, because I think in my time playing so far, Puppetmon has been my very favourite card. I adore Puppetmon. Now, when you play it, you get to suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, and that's all lovely. But mostly, none of your opponent's Digimon unsuspend during their next unsuspend phase. You do incidentally gain a memory when attacking, but that's just a handy little bonus, it's not huge. But essentially what you do here is you wait until your opponent has got a bunch of suspended Digimon, because they just attacked with them, and then you go, ladies and gentlemen, and then you go. You rest one of them of your choice, but then none of them unsuspend, so not only have you got a whole bunch of little Digimon getting extra attacks and taking out your opponent's security, but you also, if you play it right, can pretty much make your opponent take a turn off of attacking, and that is a lot of the time going to be enough to swing the game into your favour. Now, we don't have any Tamers here, we don't need any Tamers, but we do have a couple different option cards. Though if you've been playing Yellow recently, these might look a little bit familiar. The one that at this stage is basically a given that is just popping up in all the Yellow decks is the 0-cost Blinding Ray. You trash the top card of your security and gain 2 memory. Now, we talked a moment ago with Lotmon about the fact that just blindly taking your security or trashing your security can go wrong, because the fewer security you've got, the closer your opponent is to winning the game. That's clearly not a good thing. However, if you time it right, it doesn't matter, and then you just gain 2 memory. Yeah, that turns it into a flat-out phenomenal card, but as I have said, timing is extremely important here. You have been warned. The other one we see here is the 4-cost Spiral Masquerade. For each of your Digimon, activate the following effect. One of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 3,000 power for the turn. So it's another one of those where if you can get a load of Digimon out at once, you can just start decimating your opponent's board. That is clearly a very fun thing indeed. I've not been a huge fan of Rookie Rush since it came out. It always seemed like a kind of annoying deck that I wanted no part of. There were obvious counters, there wasn't enough draw, it seemed kind of annoying. But I look at this Rookie Rush deck and I see that there's a lot more draw than I'm used to seeing in Rookie Rush. And I see that We got a lot of Digimon that can now avoid those counters, and I'm starting to look at it and go, well, you know what? Maybe, ladies and gentlemen, maybe. But I want to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would ya? Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk Digimon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wasi Plays.